I would. I always do. God damn it, no.
Yeah, well, I thought Melanie was going to be here to sing also.
I hope they're okay.
Yeah, I think it's just week to week.
How are you doing?
Hey, Joe.
You know, same. Same. What's that?
Oh, he hasn't yet. It's not midnight yet, but he knows I'm collecting.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
John said that he's willing to do the Buddhist meeting for the and
Awesome.
I'll pay him the money else that charge.
Awesome. Dude, that'd be awesome.
I just need to know, do I invoice you and Collective since you guys set that up? Or
Yeah, because that'll be under the interfaith. Hey, Christina, great to see you.
Alright, so we can just set up, so
All right.
I can send weekly invoices or monthly, just let me know.
Okay, cool. We still haven't found what we're looking for, and I want to propose that we should change what we're looking for from a thing to a way. There is no perfect church. Let's stop looking for it, and instead, let's look for spiritual progress. Tonight at Collective Welcome, I am Ben. I'll be your host for the service tonight here in downtown DeLand, Florida, and welcome to those who are joining our living room from anywhere in the world at wearecollectivechurch.com. We hope that you will subscribe and stay connected. Some of us have done this hundreds and hundreds of times, multiple hundreds. And I've seen a number of faces in this room, and it's not a huge crowd tonight, but I've seen a number of faces with us tonight who have never done this. Maybe not with us, but also maybe not in like anything religious in a minute or ever, so thank you. It takes tremendous courage to come here, so thanks. Your perspective keeps us fresh and it makes us alive. So we want to begin simply by bearing witness to the courage it takes to gather and to honor that courage with belonging. Your presence makes us who we are. And we're not here, even though this will happen, I promise you'll laugh, we're not here to be religiously entertained, but to do good work. We're trying to make good lives as good people. We call that spiritual formation. So thanks to Kenny, who is helping to host. Thanks to Fred, our artist in residence, to Brandon, sound guy extraordinaire, bassist, Mary, running everything, and you all, without whom we can't do this work. We all our collective church. Who wants to read the community statement tonight and remind us what that means to us? Somebody's dying too, I can see. Not everybody, put those hands down. Yeah, Christina, you're up, come on. There's a microphone on the couch up here. Come up here, there's a button on the side. Push it for 2 seconds, the light will turn green.
Too many instructions.
No, you can do it. You can do it.
Hey, Christina.
Right?
We value highly the metaphor of journey. We're different people from different places and backgrounds, representing an intergenerational community, and we travel different paths. So we agree not to make assumptions about the person across from us, next to us, or in conversation with us. We challenge ourselves to be sensitive, knowing this community includes a diverse group of people, from lifelong followers of Jesus to people who are just now open to the idea that God might exist. We strive to avoid offense, ask good questions, articulate and explain our responses. We don't assume fluency in the Bible, spirituality, or church language, because we believe the message of Jesus is not for Christianity, but for humanity. So we do everything in the spirit of love and grace.
different paths. Beautiful people with messy pasts, so have no fear, no judgment here. Whether you believe in Jesus or don't believe in anything, something you can teach us. You belong, no right, no wrong. Leaning into grace, help us make a place with an open table where no one's turned away. Well, love without why, no one has to hide. Finding God in people, sharing hearts as equals. You are held in light. Good news is on your side. Life is full of mystery, and solidarity helps us to find some peace in the great unknown. You don't have to be alone. Leaning into grace, help us make a place with an open table where no one's turned away. Well, love without why, no one has to hide. Finding God in people, sharing hearts as equals. You are held in light. Good news is on your side.
Oh, yeah. Terry's here. Finally, we can get started. Welcome, Terry. Andrew Brooks, who wrote that song, how would we say that? The musical expression of the community statement?
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, Andrew is going to be here next Sunday to play some music with us. He also got engaged to his lovely girlfriend, Tori, so yay! Yeah, good stuff. Good. You came for good news. There you have it, good news. Okay, so we've said it and sung it. We're going to get connecting, and we say always it's hard to build a movement if you don't know who's in it. So we're going to talk to each other, and take it from me. I know you guys can't all see yourselves. What a lovely group. You guys look amazing. You should talk to each other. So if you're willing to share with each other, quick answers. We're going to put 3 minutes on the clock. Kenny's going to be online. Give him a shout out. Let him know you're with us. So the 60-second impression of progressive spirituality or progressive Christianity. And kind of like last week, are those generally positive or negative impressions? So that's what we're going to be about tonight. I already see some big smiles. People are opinionated. We're going to share. There's less sermon and more spirited debate. Maybe, I don't know. We'll just have a good conversation. But I'll probably preach either way. So 3 minutes. 60-second impression of progressive spirituality. So that means groups of 3, right? Because if you each do 60 seconds, that's more than 3 minutes. Or just have whatever group you want. Ready, set, go. Go. Talk to one another. Be safe. Mask as you feel like you should. Love one another with your bodies. Yeah, we'll have him come up here. Yeah. All right, if you would. So quick show of hands, how many of you positive impressions of progressive Christianity? Okay, how many of you have negative impressions of Christianity? How about if we add some nuance and we say we can have also both? Like you can have mostly positive, but you also can be like, I've kind of also seen some stuff I don't love. That's okay, we're fully rounded characters, that's okay. But in general, it seems like most people have sort of positive stuff to say. Does anyone have something, or did something come up in a group that you guys felt like particularly valuable that you think is worth sharing with the group? Yeah, Joe. Joy. I just added Y. Joy. Stop following the rules. Yes, ma'am. Okay, let's not follow the rules. Living a life. Do you think it would be fair? Would it be fair to say it's not only following the rules? A life is more than following the rules. Because I think some people hear that and they go, well, if you don't follow any of the rules, chaos, mass hysteria. It's beauty, isn't it? Ooh, I'm sorry, pause, forgive me. I want to talk to the online community for a moment. We've done historically a bad job of including the online community in these conversations because I'm mic'd and no one else is. So who plays tennis? You're it, Bill, you're the runner. Not just for you guys the whole night. Yeah, no, you're it. No, you moved quick. Bias towards action, but you got up, so now you're stuck with it all night. So you've got to run. I mean, you get to. Yeah, that's right. A little hustle would be nice. Thank you.
Somebody else. No, somebody else, no.
Okay, so we're going to go at this point. Anyone else have anything? You're like, there's no way I would share if I was the last person. Okay, so Bill, just hold that. Turn it off. It's okay, we have mute also. Okay, so generally positive impressions. We're going to come back to that. Anybody online?
We've got Jess Garrett.
Let's get that mic on real quick.
And Jay.
There we go. Jess, Jay, how's it going, guys?
Yeah.
All right, so we've gotten connected. Let's talk about the rundown. What's going on with practice this week?
Okay, so again, if you want to find out, it starts with the email. You subscribe and select the rundown as well as your preferences by visiting our website. And then you get the weekly rundown, which becomes your custom dashboard for us practicing together. To help us talk about some volunteer stuff and to talk about some collective care stuff, Dan,
come on. Dan, come sit on the couch. Push the button for 2 seconds till it turns green.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Bill, bring him the mic. Perfect.
Yeah, pass the mic.
Man, I had no idea I was going to become a tyrant with microphone power. I'm like, get over here.
I have the power.
Right, now you've got mic. Yes, you have power also. So Dan, what we were just having a conversation as things usually evolve at Collective. We were talking this week about how to expand the platform of Collective's greeting ministry from Dan Hensley to more than Dan Hensley. So if any of you believe that on a Sunday, can we pull me down a little bit? It sounds real tinny. It's ringing in my ears. If you would be willing to come on a Sunday and just watch how Dan does it, makes people feel welcome, smiles, treats people like human beings, even though they're coming to church.
Ben.
Yeah, well, yeah. Anyway, he is the ideal person to train you. He'd love to bring you along. And part of what we want to say is we know that when it's like, if it's an appeal from the stage, you're not doing anything. We sent a survey out, and the people that are like willing to do it, they said, yeah, put me in to help. We want to show you that it's easy and it's a simple kind of human thing. You can just come and try. We'll walk with you. You can do it. You don't have to already know how to do it. But we need people to help. And what we need help with is just helping people feel welcome more than anything. And that's in a few ways. Barista, greeting, stuff like that. Do you want to add anything to that, Dan?
No, okay. I haven't had any problems doing the greeting either.
No, not that you do, but we need to replicate the brilliance of Dan.
Oh, please.
Yeah, well, that's what the world needs is more Dan. So tell us about what, and one of the things we're going to talk about tonight is when we hear descriptors like progressive, we tend to treat them as nouns. Like these are labels that we want to put on things. And part of what we want to say is let's shift our thinking from progressive as a label to progressive as a verb. What does it mean for us to practice progressively? And one of the ways that I was like, is that man? It's a really bad tinnitus. One of the things that we want to draw attention to, and every so often we talk about what we call points of pride, which is to remind us, for those that don't practice regularly with collective cares, that aren't connected with the fact that there was a huge Deland Pride event in here last night, to remind you that it's not just a conviction we have that's LGBTQ inclusivity, but that it's a part of our practice. So every now and again, we just want to invite Dan to come and say, this is what Collective Cares has been doing. There's still regular programming going on weekly, and we're still connected with Deland Pride. So kind of share a little bit of what's been going on and if there's anything we can do to support.
Well, we have been meeting every Thursday at 5:30, and we usually have an event, and if you want to join the Collective Cares core group, you will be sent items by messenger so that you know what's going on. Almost always the first Thursday is social, and we have game night, and what do we play?
Something raunchy or rowdy. Or,
yeah. Because we openly discuss sex between us, it can be a little heavy-handed.
Yeah.
Because we believe in honesty and being forthright, and we discuss sex and gender and important issues, but also we usually have events.
Yeah.
This next Thursday, because it's Holocaust Awareness Week, we're going to be showing Bent. Kenny's going to be hosting it.
I usually host a monthly movie night, so this will be the movie night for January.
So we have a movie night once a month, and then we have things like story prompts where people write stories. We usually give you the prompts ahead of time so you can come with a story prepared, poetry prompts. We also do crafts. We've made bracelets recently, beaded bracelets. We do all kinds of things, but mostly we talk, don't you think? That's what we do.
Yeah.
We talk with one another and socialize, and it's a place to be comfortable. And also, we have allies who come. It's not just the LGBTQ community. If there's an event that you like, you're more than welcome to join us. Bent would be a good one, and movie nights are always interesting.
I know Jay, right? Jay has come regularly and participated, especially more prior to COVID.
Jay is a regular member.
Yeah, Jay's regular.
With the pandemic, he has backed off. He's 78 years old, but he is one of our most regular members, and we miss him and love him. But if you care to join us, you're more than welcome. The thing is, we try to keep what we talk about within the group. We don't want...
Well, and that's, part of what you do so well, part of what we're talking about with you as a greeter is that, and we'll peel back the curtain and I'll show you guys all of the magical technology. Being a host really just means helping people to feel safe and valued and like they can make a contribution. And that's what Dan does really regularly. That's what they try to do with Collective Cares, is to create a safe place. And the result is people end up feeling vulnerable, sharing stories, processing important things. And I wanted to say one of the things that you've even just now helped me to kind of realize, Michelle, over the last 2 years, she and I have come together to the language of death positivity as like a core value of the church, that as opposed to a bunch of other religious expressions that are trying to overcome or defeat death, we're trying to engage in what we call death positivity. We do that in a bunch of ways. And more than just what we started with as LGBTQ inclusivity, being open and affirming, really what we're talking about is being sex positive. And that's kind of a strange thing to say as a church, but it's really the truth. It's more than just including people based on sexual identity. It's having positivity about sexual expression and being healthy about it.
I would say more people who are heterosexual discuss sex with me than the LGBT community because they have no place to talk about it. And I've been talking about sex since 1971 when I first came out. So I can discuss just about any form of sex or Whatever.
Yeah, that other thing there's not a word for.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. But if you want to join us, you're more than welcome. And
Yeah.
if you want to talk to somebody, I'm somebody to talk to that's safe, that's not going to tell anybody your big secrets. Like,
Yeah.
I don't believe in shame, so I'm not going to shame you for anything because I don't believe there's much to be ashamed of. You're not given your sexual proclivities. Those are given to you.
Yeah.
You don't build them up. They're just there, and you should be happy that you are who you are. And it's a blessing that God gave you that you could enjoy sex or not have sex if you don't want to have sex. I recently, last year during the summer, I met a teenage couple who had no desire to have sex, and they were ostracized by the people around them, saying that wasn't valid, and it was valid for them. They were romantic with one another, but they did not want to have sex, period. And the thing is, you have to accept people as they are and accept what they tell you they are.
Yeah.
Especially important with gender identity, especially important with identity, period.
Yeah, we're going to talk about progress tonight and what it means to practice progressively. And I want us to think about, and this came up a couple weeks ago, think about progress in the church and what it means that we still, as progressive as we are and want to be, there's still an outside edge to who we are, right? And so in the 60s, we started to experience this huge shift from patriarchal, heteronormative church to then all of a sudden women are getting included. And especially the Methodist Church was one of the leading denominations in including women early. So we include women, and then we're going to include gays, right? Gays and lesbians. And then we're going to include transgender people. And each step along the way, are there people who were included in the prior inclusion who are not yet ready to include the next round of inclusion? Yeah, including us. And so the question for us is, we've come through all of this, especially in the last, I was going to say 4 years. How long has gay marriage been legal? So we've seen a lot of this progress, and the calls that I've been getting in the last 6 months are, we're a polyamorous couple, and there are 3 of us, or throuple, I guess. Are we going to be okay in the church? Well, I don't know. I mean, that depends on the people in the room. What's the next edge of what we're able to accept? How far does our sex positivity go? This is the edge where we want to be doing ministry, right? Not what was figured out in the church 40 years ago and entrenching those positions, but what does it mean to bend as far as we can bend to love people and to include people in our embrace? Dan's been practicing it for a decade with us. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Let's give him a hand. Real quick, we have stuff coming in February. It's been a slow kind of getting off the ground in January. Thanks for being patient with us. So collective kids stuff. We're going to have a meeting with Jenny Beth and Ella. I also talked to Miss Darlene this week. There will be kids stuff resuming in February on Sunday nights, hopefully every Sunday night, at least 3 Sunday nights a month, but we'll let you guys know on that. Art and Soul is going to be coming back hopefully once a month starting in February. If you want to do art as a way of creating community and create community through practicing art together. Jenny Beth is amazing. She'll lead you. Kenny's been to all of them.
Yeah, well, I missed one, but I had a super stressful, I guess, November.
Yeah.
And I remember doing Art and Soul, and it was just Sharon
Okay.
and myself and Jenny Beth, and we decoupaged, and it was the most relaxing and centered I felt in months. It's a really great experience. It's a great space, and Jenny Beth is wonderful.
Yeah, fantastic. We had, as we initially started the congregation, our friend Clay was starting a coffee shop called Trilogy, and we were trying to help him get business. We were a startup church, and so we started our weekly crowdsourcing sermon conversation in the coffee shop called Occupy Trilogy. Then a couple years ago, I think at maybe the beginning of the pandemic, we shifted it to Work of the People because we couldn't gather in this coffee shop anymore. And we sort of wrapped that a little bit into the end of the year. We haven't really found a new expression of that. So we're going to be brainstorming what that looks like, but there will be some kind of an expression of that in February. So yeah, anything else? Oh, we've got a rescheduled Fireside Moonrise. Initially, that was going to be yesterday? Yeah, it was going to be yesterday, and so we rescheduled that to February 19th, I believe.
Yes. At Jim's house.
At Jim's house, correct. Yeah,
The
Jim
event's
and
on
Lynn's.
Facebook.
Yeah.
It's also going to be in your email.
Yeah, it'll all be there. So no excuses. Get the email. Be there. And this is a teaser. It's not anywhere. I'll deny it to the grave. There's nothing in writing. Sunday Soul Brunch is back for Easter Sunday. Yes. Yes. We have Cafe Da Vinci booked for 11 a.m. We have, I got to see if I can catch all these descriptors right. We have an 11-piece swing dance cover band called Chief Cherry. They played a wedding I did about a month and a half ago, and it was probably some of the best I felt with music in a long time. So I'm pumped to share it with you guys. We've already got sponsors lined up, but things will come together hopefully in the next couple weeks. We're going to get tickets out there, and so mark your calendars. That's April 17th, I think. All right. Save a dance for Dan. We will. All right. I think, is that it? Yeah. Good. Well, everybody take a breath. We say a lot that the planning is the practice. Planning is a part of the practice. So these are opportunities that are available to you. And part of what we want to do is when we slow down together on Sunday nights is to think about our week and think about the ways that we want to take advantage of the opportunities we have to practice. Not just with collective stuff, but in your life, the time you have, the spaces you have. How are you going to practice this week? We're going to sound the singing bowl and sit together for about 3 minutes and ask you to join us as we gently return to our attention, to our true self, to what many call God. Whether that feels to you like emptiness or the center, whatever that is, sink into that. Breathe and listen as if your senses are searching for something. Open to surprise. Your mind will wander, come back to your breath. Without judgment, just notice gently to your breath. Use the drone footage as best helps you to survey your inner landscape. May the silence allow us to contemplate what we want this ceremony to accomplish for us. Humility, spiritual rebirth, strength for what lies ahead. Breathe. It's all right.
wish upon you grace. I wish for less of what you want and more of what you need. I wish upon you an old life with a heart that stays young. But most of all, I wish upon you love. I wish upon you truth. When all you feel is doubt, I hope you know that an open mind still knows when to shut things out. I wish upon you a brave heart that will always rise above. But most of all, I wish upon you love. 'Cause as the sun sets, well, the moon begins to rise. 'Cause even in the darkness, you'll find the light. You'll find the light. You'll find the light. Yes, even in the darkness, you'll find the light. I wish upon you an easy life. I wish upon you hard times. I hope you know that both joy and pain each need their moment to shine. I wish you ears that are quick to listen and slow to use that tongue. But most of all, I wish upon you love. 'Cause as the sun sets, well, the moon begins to rise. So even in the darkness, you'll find the light. You'll find the light. You'll find the light. You'll find the light. Yes, even in the darkness, you'll find the light.
Put that one on the record. Exciting. Yeah, Lily's been practicing walking and it's taking. It's working. Let's have a sermon, shall we? Now may the words of our mouths in the meditation of all of our hearts grant us not only the light of wisdom to understand these words, but the fire of conviction to put them into practice. Amen. So we've been for, what are we, the 4th week of January? We've been for the last 3 weeks getting into a series really ultimately about who we are, what we're up to, and then trying to ask the question, who's with us? Who's coming with us? Hey, bud. And so the structure of the series is going to feel like this. I wanted to give you guys a sense so you know what's happening. So the first 2 weeks we talked about dividing an audience, who's with us, and then uniting an audience. The people that are with us, let's go do our thing. And then these first couple are really broad. So last week we talked about what is this word non-denominational, and really what are people who are looking for a non-denominational church looking for, and are some of those people actually looking for what we have? That's ultimately what we want to do, is connect with those people, help them to find us and us to find them. Tonight we're going to talk about what it means to be progressive in a progressive Christian church. Next week we'll talk about the fact that we're open and affirming. So those are kind of general things, and really the way they're phrased is local. So last week was a non-denominational church at DeLand. This week is the best progressive church near Stetson. And I think next week is like open and affirming in DeLand. But they're like the basic Google URL, what is it called? SEO, I was going to say CEO. The SEO, like search stuff. People are looking for answers to these broad questions. So that's finding my place. And sort of the tagline of all of this is there's a place for you here. We're trying to clarify, though, who we are so people can tell if it's the right place for them. So finding my place, general stuff. And then finding my people. We're going to talk about, for 5 weeks, some of the core theological things that set us apart. And I can't remember all of them, but they have to do with like open and affirming, human sexuality. Hell has been used to manipulate us. There's some stuff about mental health and spirituality. So we're going to deal with some of the things that kind of set us apart as some theological distinctives about the way we practice. Not so that we can be like, we believe the right thing. This is a part of what you'll see practiced here together. And then after that is another couple weeks that we called Finding My Faith. And really, initially, this came out of a conversation with Kenny and I and Josh Hayes, and it was really like finding my faith after Trump was like ultimately what we were asking. And so those are 3 things that we are going to count on having sort of an opportunity to elevate the discourse culturally around questions like, do Black Lives matter to God? What should Christians do about masks and vaccines? God, guns, and Christian nationalism, how would Jesus feel about it? So some things that we know are going to start a broader conversation, but there are also things, again, that set us apart as a congregation, especially in DeLand. And then the final piece, Finding My Church, is just going to be a couple weeks, very practically, helping people to know what it means to connect here, to choose to do whatever we're going to do together for the next year. Coincidentally, it all wraps up on Easter, which is perfect. So tonight, Progressive Church, let's get into it. What time is it? 5:45. So we've already had half the conversation during the beginning. That's awesome. So I want to give you a sense for what we've put out there, and then we're just going to actually kind of take this a bit line by line, and we're going to have a conversation about it. So this is the video. Check this out, and then we'll talk about it. What's the best progressive church near Stetson University? Let's start with this. Anti-intellectualism in modern Christianity is tragic, and it's become toxic. College is such a powerful time for opening minds and considering new ideas, especially the ideas that we've brought with us from home. I changed a ton from the ideas that I brought with me from home when I was a Stetson student 20 years ago, and that evolution hasn't ever stopped. Spiritual community is no different. We're always moving away from people, ideas, and behaviors that have formed us so far, even while we're connecting with new people, ideas, and behaviors that are forming us now. Collective celebrates and supplements the rigorous intellectual pursuit of university education and truth with an intergenerational community that brings together new life, kids and babies with the wisdom of our elders. All that to say, Collective is really one of the only truly progressive churches in downtown DeLand, walkable from the campus and totally clear about the values and positions that you care about. Come grow with us. There's a place for you here. Our sincere hope is that Collective is a place for anyone, but we know it's not for everyone. If you think it might be a place for you, we hope that you'll bring all your questions and your sense of humor. But enough about us. We really are so curious about you. Please join us Sunday nights at 5 here in downtown DeLand or at wearecollectivechurch.com. Your presence makes us who we are, and there's a place for you here. All right, come on. So that's the hope, is to put those out there, get those conversations started, and trust you guys to be able to pick up the conversation from there, and to invite people to have those conversations here. So that's tonight. That's the conversation we want to have just for another maybe 10 minutes. So let's start here. Give me some examples of how anti-intellectualism has corrupted faith and religion. That's sort of how I start in the video, because I think that's, for me, the entry point to this question, what is progressive Christianity? For me, the beginning of progress is I think the ability to think, the ability to be self-reflective, the ability to learn. And I guess some of that has to begin with the humility that we don't already know everything. So what are some examples of how anti-intellectualism has corrupted faith and religion? Sure. Yeah, sure, whatever, yeah. Okay, so people didn't know how to read, and the church did. Okay, so good, Bill. Thank you. Let's keep these short, and I'll repeat them.
Okay.
You can just hold that for now.
Okay, cool. I'll run it if you want.
Yeah, she'll be the runner now.
I got my sneakers on.
Yep. You've what's that? Apostolic succession. So Bill passed. Nobody cares about that. So yeah, Annabelle said that there was a while where people couldn't read. And the church didn't teach them to, it just told them what to do. Yeah, so it's like, yeah, sorry, you can't read this Bible, but guess what it says? You better give all your money to the church. Bill, this is weird.
People seem to, not everybody, but many people seem to just take what's preached at them, and if it makes sense to their false self, to their ego, the part of them that wants to get over on everybody else, they go along with it.
Right.
As opposed to having a non-dual attitude of everybody's included, what's good, what's best for the common good.
Yeah.
It really boils down to what's all about my ego, and that adds up to a lot of anti-intellectual, anti-science, anti-reality orientation.
Yeah, absolutely. How many of you guys, Mayhill, and then Dan. You can shout it and I'll repeat it, or you can say a long thing, either way.
Awesome. So I think that also there's a lot of complexity in faith and a lot of paradox and a lot of kind of hard nuance, and anti-intellectualism tends to simplify things. I would also say, I think what struck me about that video is I think there's a lot of anti-intellectualism in academia right now, and at Stetson in particular. And so it's interesting that Collective is trying to sort of situate itself as like, we're about intellectual, rigorous thought, and I don't know that that's something that the Stetson administration is necessarily promoting.
Whoo, you know Jesus got killed for saying things, right? Man, all right. But it's so crazy, because what? I mean, when I met you, I mean, that was what, 7 years ago? It's so different. So long ago, yes. Yeah, right. We've gotten younger. Dan.
It's tough because I feel, I come from a fundamentalist background.
Yeah.
And families often take offense because they don't want to think that the people that were before them were wrong.
Totally.
And that bothers them.
Yep.
And that's the tough nut to get over.
Yeah.
Were my mother and father wrong? But the thing is, I believe that over time, we've seen a church of ascension. I think since the Middle Ages, when you paid your way into the church, we've progressed.
Yeah.
And we've ascended, and we've started thinking logically about things. And I think we shouldn't take too much offense at those people who don't want to imagine that their ancestors were incorrect. But the church has always been progressing.
Yeah.
And especially after the Middle Ages, when things got really bad, things have been progressively getting better and better, and we've been more mindful of what it really means to be a Christian or what it means to be good.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Good stuff. Thank you, Dan. Anybody else? Yeah, Jerry. Let's run it on over. Pause just for a second so we can hear you. Thanks.
The use of books, we keep talking about the primitive people, and even the atheist argument, the book was written by a couple of camel herders out in the desert. What is it worth?
Yeah.
But the faith grew by word of mouth. To feed the 5,000, you didn't send out an email message.
Right.
You didn't post flyers on trees, the word of mouth. And I've been reading about primitive nations, National Geographic book about primitive tribes of the world. And almost every single one of them had close personal connections in person. And they had long histories of memorizing not only their own genealogy, but the genealogy of the whole tribe memorized, carrying it up here.
Yeah.
And I expect to say, I would think in our grab and go day, this is a grab and go.
Yeah.
Facts on the fly. We're regressing, not progressing, and people are losing the oral, OR,
Yeah.
and the oral capabilities that the primitives had.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah,
kind of
absolutely.
a step backward to canonize books.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, sort of technology as an extension of intellect, of books, of the sort of myth that that enough progress will get us there, when ultimately there's also the truth that people have been finding their way word of mouth, pre-technology, pre-sort of intellectual rigor, and that more than likely Jesus was illiterate, and most of the people in the original story were not intellectual powerhouses. So yeah, we have to reconcile all that stuff for sure.
Wait.
You guys seen a late night show? Yeah. So stand behind the podium and just interrupt me. Go. I love
Wait.
this.
Oh,
Wait,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So, why do you say that because Jesus was illiterate, he was not intelligent or
No.
intellectual? I mean, intellectual.
I'm using it in the modern Western sense of
Right,
intellectual,
exactly.
like university education.
That's
Yeah, like higher
exactly-
education.
That's what I'm asking, though. Intellectual, I don't know. I guess I'm just challenging that concept.
I'm happy to be challenged. I don't think I understand the challenge.
No, I'm saying is that equating being illiterate with being unintelligent.
Oh, good point. Yeah. Got you. I'm not saying that
what
people
I'm
who are,
trying- yeah.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that by extension, them being illiterate meant that they weren't academics in the sense that they read papers and debated at an academic level, but that they could be super intelligent. Absolutely.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to get at.
We're fiercely agreeing.
Yes.
How many of you guys have ever heard the phrase, "The Bible says it, I believe it, that settles it"? Yeah, okay. So that's celebrated in some fundamentalist cultures, and that is, it doesn't say it, but it basically is openly anti-intellectualism. There were very conservative people in a Baptist church that I served when I started talking about going to seminary, and I had people who said, "Don't, you'll lose your faith." And they were right. They were right. I 1,000% lost faith in very archaic and pre-modern and abusive and regressive understandings of God and understandings of human relationship. And I understand that both ways, whatever stage of consciousness you're at, you look at prior stages of consciousness and the next stage of consciousness adversarially, and you look at them with fear. So of course you look back at your parents and you go, well, they were wrong, but I also don't want to reject their wrong thing, and I'm not sure if I want to practice their wrong thing. So we have this weird relationship with what we got. But then we also look ahead and we go, kind of the conversation we were having, sure, we're open and affirming, but then what about polyamorous couples? And then what about, and so we may look ahead with, I'm not really sure. How far can we really push? Patriarchy, race, women, the use of the Bible as God's word, the idea of access to texts, who has the power to interpret texts, all that stuff. I said in the video I changed a ton when I came to Stetson, and I've shared before I had this intense fight with my religion professor, Don Musser, may he rest in peace, we lost him this last year, about predestination and free will. And I had come to him from a year and a half in Presbyterian youth group, which was just enough to have some strong Calvinism. And this guy was oh, here's how you read the Bible intellectually. Here's a book called Jesus Before Christianity. Here's why predestination isn't real. And I'm 20, and I was oh my God, the world's falling apart. And it was okay. And it came back together, and there were beautiful people who held me in the time where the faith was falling apart. And at the same time, I'm in business school, and I'm realizing that evangelism is just another word for marketing and sales. And so I'm like, is this disgusting? Is this brilliant? I don't know how to feel about this. Where it gets scary, and this connects to the last couple of weeks, I went away, but the 4 other people in my family and the 4 best guy friends that I had in my group didn't go away. And so I came here and I started to make progress. And I started to learn to read the Bible differently. And because of that, I started to relate to God as I understood God differently. And I started to spend time with different people. And I started to think different people were okay, that maybe some people in my friend group and family didn't. And so I became kind of a black sheep. How many of you guys have ever had the experience, and maybe not based on your religion, but maybe sexual identity or something else, where your family's worried about you? Really worried about you. Like when your younger brother's like, we've had a conversation about you, and we're worried that maybe you're leading people astray. And I'm also like, I am too. I'm glad you're worried. I really don't want to go to hell, but I can't really not do this. So, and this is all a part of the hero's journey, right? We leave home, we deconstruct, we have to come to terms with our own values. We can't just do what mom and dad gave us. We have to own who we are. And that's what I said in the video, is that we're all, this is, and we call it spiritual formation because we do it intentionally, but we're always, every day, we're trading the ideas and the practices and the behaviors, or beliefs and behaviors that formed us before, and we're sort of incorporating whatever is forming us now. And we're always in that process. And I think part of what we mean when we sort of make the statement in the video is to say that we're not afraid of truth. And I think that's maybe what anti-intellectualism is doing more than anything, is making it really clear that the goal is power, and is not integrity and clarity and truth-telling, but that it's for whoever has power or wants power to get power. We don't believe that there's truth outside of God or other than God, or we might say other than reality if you're not a theist, so bring it on. Part of what Collective is saying is disillusion us. We're not coming to church to have a sermon where somebody props up all the things that we need in order to get through the day. We don't need the opiate of the masses. We don't need an illusion. What we're asking for is the truth in a compelling vision of a good life. And that's enough for us. That's enough for me. So this happened a couple weeks ago, and I love this example. I think this is a good example. 10% battery, so the sermon's about to be over either way. We'll see how far we get. This happened 3 or 4 weeks ago. We talked about the connections between Buddhism and Christianity, one of my favorite things to get into. And I think it was one of the guys that's been here pretty recently, a dude named Jamie. And he came up afterwards, and he was awesome. He was really uncomfortable with some of the connections that I had made, and that we were pretty positive on Buddhism. And he was like, these are totally opposing beliefs and totally opposing ideologies, and I don't really understand how you can say this is Christian, da-da-da. And I was like, cool, absolutely. Let's have the conversation. He gave me his email. Send me your sources. I'll send you mine. I'll give you the best stuff that I have. And let's see what we find together. Invitation into a conversation. Heartbreaking serendipity. I wrote this example of this conversation with Jamie hours before Thich Nhat Hanh died this week. He was this amazing advocate for the bridge between Buddhism and Christianity that I think in many ways shaped the future of Western Christianity, especially in its liberal expressions, in its progressive expressions, in sort of the stream that we're in. And this is a part of I talked in the video, and we say every week in the community statement, the value of being intergenerational. And so I came by the connection between Buddhism and Christianity through humor. Modern Western humor. There's an author called Christopher Moore that wrote a fictitious book about the missing years of Jesus and him going to the East and practicing Buddhism and all these other faiths. So I came to this by modern comparative religious study and humor and curiosity. And, I say this because I found it and I feel good about it. And then also, because we're an intergenerational community, Bill, who's been practicing this for 40 years, can go, oh yeah, Thomas Merton is the father of contemplative Christian practice, and he was trained by Thich Nhat Hanh and the Buddhist monks, and this has something to do with the shape of the Christianity that we're practicing today. So we get the academy, and we get the lived spirituality of the community. I'm going to give you an example, and I know this is, I don't know what this is. It's not a sermon, but I'm giving you all the good stuff that I have, and then we'll just talk in a second. So I want to give you an example just by contrast. In this, yeah, I think this is better than a sermon that I can give you. So how many of you guys know the Apostles' Creed? Like by memory? Awesome. Okay, I don't think I remember it, but I was confirmed in a Presbyterian church, so I should. Something to the effect of, I believe in God the Father Almighty, the maker of heaven and earth. Did you put that in there? No. Oh, not yet. Sorry, I thought you had done that. I was like, man, you're good. All right, just man, real time. All right. I believe in God the Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth, and in his only Son, Jesus Christ our Lord, who was conceived by the Holy Ghost, born of the Virgin Mary, suffered under Pontius Pilate, was crucified, dead and buried. He descended into hell, if you say it the right way. On the third day, he ascended into heaven, where he sits at the right hand of God the Father Almighty, from whence he shall come to judge the quick and the dead. I believe in the Holy Catholic Church, the communion of saints, the resurrection of sins, the forgiveness of sins, the resurrection of the body, and the life everlasting. Amen. Yeah, I believe that in my way. So let's call that, that's the tradition. And again, we're not value judging it. That's the tradition. That's what we've inherited. When did they write that? Was that Nicaea? What is that, five or six? Three, okay, it's early. So we've had that for a minute. That's an old one, but a good one. That's a classic we've hung on to for a bit. Something a bit more progressive, and for the sake of time, I'm just going to read this, because it's really the sermon. You can throw it up now, and you guys can read along. I believe in God, who created the world not ready-made, like a thing that must forever stay what it is, who does not govern according to eternal laws that have perpetual validity, nor according to natural orders of poor and rich, experts and ignoramuses, people who dominate and people subjected. I believe in God, who desires the counter-argument of the living and the alteration of every condition through our work, through our politics. I believe in Jesus Christ, who is right when he, as an individual who can't do anything, just like us, worked to alter every condition and came to grief in so doing. Looking to him, I discern how our intelligence is crippled, our imagination suffocates, and our exertion is in vain, because we do not live as he did. Every day I'm afraid that he died for nothing, because he is buried in our churches, because we have betrayed his revolution in our obedience to and fear of the authorities. I believe in Jesus Christ, who is resurrected into our life, so that we shall be free from prejudice and presumptuousness, from fear and hate, and push his revolution onward and toward his reign. I believe in the Spirit who came into the world with Jesus, and the communion of all peoples, and our responsibility for what will become of our earth, a valley of tears, hunger, and violence, or the city of God. I believe in the just peace that can be created, in the possibility of meaningful life for all humankind, in the future of this world of God. Amen. I don't think that the latter takes anything away from the former, and I don't think that there is any ego in our tradition necessary to say that the former is done and it's finished, and that needs to be it finally and forever. I don't think there's any harm in adding language that moves us now to the tradition that we've been given by people who cared enough and loved us enough to preserve what they were experiencing together in their religious communities. So progressive, really what we mean to say is that we're moving forward. We're not moving backwards. Certainly we don't want to regress. We're not trying to conserve things that harm. We're not, and you guys know that. We're preaching to the choir. Progressive implies change. Like we said, it implies self-reflection, which implies practice. And all of those require patience, which is part of the reason it's so tough in our culture, because capitalism says, just come to church and hear a new idea, or believe the right thing, or get the new book. And that's not how this works. We have to choose every week to continue trying and failing to be these kinds of people. So what does it mean, back to what we opened with, what does it mean to practice being progressive rather than just to put an identity, right? We've got the pride flag in the window, progressive Christian church, great. What does it look like for us as a congregation to practice being progressive? Let's talk just for a few minutes, 5 or 10 minutes. I'm asking you guys, what does that look like? What are some of the distinctives? What are some of the things that we do that identify us as progressive in our practice, not just in the flag on the window? Jerry. Oh, yep, runners.
It's looked at humor as a tool sometimes, because you can tell whether a person is using their mind or not. And humor is an incredible tool that people have an intellect use, and people who cannot laugh are scary.
Brilliant.
But I think that was a side note.
That was a great one.
I think the big thing is you have to not be afraid to give up the things in yourself, in your mind, in your life that you thought were, I cannot get rid of that.
Yeah.
And at my age, I have to get rid of stuff because I don't want to leave a pile of crap, when I die.
Yeah.
A garage full of what I thought was valuable stuff.
Yeah.
And I guess the prime example of at one point not being afraid of darkness. In fact, there's a scripture that came to me that says, I own the darkness. I am there in the darkness. What are you afraid of, So, and then all the beliefs and all the behaviors I had, be willing to, even though they're comfortable, I've used this all my life, and I don't want to give it up. Well, no, give it up for a better tool,
Oof,
or whatever,
brilliant.
A better way of doing it.
Man, so good. Thank you so much, Jerry. That's awesome. Man,
There's more.
so many ideas. Yeah, take it.
I think practicing inclusivity versus judgment of other people is a good way to practice.
Yeah, so just the practice of inclusivity rather than judgment. And I will say, and this goes both ways, because remember, when you're looking at the prior stage of consciousness, when I'm looking at my family and some of my friends who don't share my values, I also don't always control my face, Seriously. So that's part of our practice of inclusion, is not being self-righteous pricks and assuming that we know better. So when somebody says something different than us, we're like, well, I wish I used to do that, So there's a level of compassion in how we are inclusive in our behavior with people who don't agree with us, not just in saying, okay, fine, you can come to our church. It's humanizing other people, not just accepting them. Yeah.
We strive to practice paying attention to our experience. Mary Oliver is one of my favorite poets, and she would say, pay attention, be astonished, and then go tell somebody.
Yeah, pay attention, be astonished, go tell somebody. I think that's spiritual practice. So, cool, good. Feel free to jump in, just raise your hand and I'll send Annabelle. Do you have anything?
I do.
I feel like you should summarize. Yeah.
No.
You're like the hype man tonight. No, what did you have to share?
I was talking to Michelle earlier about something I saw about paying your rent. And you've talked about capitalism a couple of times throughout the weeks. And, we live in it.
I'm always coming for capitalism. Don't tell capitalism, please.
Yeah, the fact is, it's what we are stewing in.
Yeah.
And so,
right. I'm always coming for capitalism on my iPad. And
right.
Yeah.
And you're,
Right.
But we are educated. Like, one thing I really love about Collective is I really feel like we're all doing the work, right? Like, we go home and we educate ourselves on LGBTQIA issues or anti-racism or post-colonialism, well, all these things, right?
Yeah.
We're learning it, and are we contributing towards the people that are producing this education, right? Like,
I don't know, are we?
yes, I did.
Good.
Yeah, I sent
Well,
her.
then, yeah, we are.
I
Let's
sent her
celebrate.
coffee. But yeah, that's like a practical way.
Yeah.
Like, if you learn something from someone that like caused you to grow into that challenged you to leave that thing behind.
Yeah.
And learn something new.
Yeah.
Send them a couple bucks because dang, we live in USA. Like, we need to pay our bills.
Yeah. 100%. And I mean, and again, like, it's not. Yeah, it doesn't always go well, but like at the end of the day, trust your gut. You know the right thing. Like, you know, I went to Stetson and at the time I was helping to start a series of like summer camps, and I was writing the curriculum for them, and I'd had 2 great summers. They loved it. I like wrote this curriculum. I made really good money at it. I went and I was the camp speaker for a couple of these camps, and the 3rd year, you know, I'm in some like heavy classes at Stetson. And I write this whole curriculum about the kingdom of God, and they're like, yeah, right, cool, super good. And like, I do the thing where I train all the other camp pastors, and we go through the curriculum, and like 8 days out from the start of camp, they're like, yeah, no, we're not doing this year. We picked another curriculum. They're just like, we're done. Also, you're not a camp pastor anymore. And these were like friends I'd grown up with. These were kids from the same youth group. It just sometimes, it'd be like that, right? Not everybody will come along. We're not all walking in the same direction. And again, not to judge. Let's be cool with who we are. We're clear on who we are. Let's go. And so progressive will be all sorts of different expressions, not just like the next 10 weeks we'll look at specific things. There's 1,000 other ones. I think at the end of the day, for us, what it means for us to practice progressive spirituality, progressive Christianity, and we're not even going to get into these, but just to kind of simplify this for you guys, I think a lot of it comes down to how we relate to the Bible, how we relate to God as we understand God, how we relate to one another, meaning not just in here, but to the rest of humanity, how we feel about the state of humanity, which is like kind of a big deal because religion has an opinion on that, how we relate to shame and fear, because honestly, that's what sets us free from modern Western religion. Like and capitalism, if we're being honest. Like, shame and fear are the 2 primary levers of religion and capitalism, and to choose to live free from those is to choose to live free. And then finally, I think how we relate to mental health. Because I think the idea that spirituality and mental health are entirely different conversations is like, we're learning more and more that that's kind of BS. And rather than trying to cultivate separate fields at the same time, we have a lot of that stuff in-house, and we're having those conversations anyway. Our congregation is made up of a lot of mental health professionals. So death positive, sex positive, mental health positive, some things that identify us as a congregation that's trying to make progress. Not what, but how. And this is the question I'll leave you with. I think it's cool, it's okay to have our positions. Dave and I talked a lot about this week. What is it, how does it help to clarify our positions without making that like another exclusive thing or another divisive thing? And I think, that's a really fine line. And I don't think that there's a way that I can tell you other than also like, you have a gut, you have a sense of integrity. So hold a conviction without being judgmental about it. Hold a conviction without being an asshole about it. And here's what I was left with. What does it mean not to be right about our positions? Get that child a mic. Yeah, we've learned that the hard way. What does it mean not to be right about our positions, but to be faithful about our practice? Those are two totally different things. And I think if we want a progressive Christian church that's right about positions, how do I put this? Fuck that. I just don't have any interest. I don't have any interest in arguing about who has the right positions. Yeah, right, that's not evolving. That's the next fundamentalist fixed thing that we defend. No. What does it mean not to be a congregation that's known to be right about our positions, but to be faithful about our practice? There are no perfect churches. We don't claim spiritual perfection. We claim spiritual progress. If you've been in any recovery rooms, you know that's where I get that. We're going to come to this table in a second, and another beautiful example, and also just to honor our brother and mentor and guru and Bodhi Thich Nhat Hanh. I'm going to ask Michelle to come and read for us his Eucharist liturgy. And there's Annabelle on the spot. Can I sit and read? Yeah. I mean, wouldn't that be weird if I was like, well, Michelle, in this church, we come to the front and we stand in front of the couch. Yeah, I don't know. Change it. Evolve. I don't think anyone can see you, but that doesn't matter.
Who's anyone? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, the mic and the cameras are so they can join us.
I'm like, who are all these people?
Sorry, yeah, I didn't mean you guys are nobody.
Chopped liver. Okay. Before every meal, a monk or a nun recites the 5 contemplations. This food is the gift of the whole universe, the earth, the sky, and much hard work. May we live in a way that is worthy of this food. May we transform our unskillful states of mind, especially that of greed. May we eat only foods that nourish us and prevent illness. May we accept this food for the realization of the way of understanding and love. In Christianity, we celebrate the Eucharist, sharing the bread and wine as the body of God. We do it in the same spirit of piety and mindfulness, aware that we are alive, enjoying dwelling in this present moment. The message of Jesus during the Seder that has become known as the Last Supper was clear. His disciples had been following him. They had had the chance to look into his eyes and see him in person, but it seems that they had not yet come into real contact with the marvelous reality of his being. So when Jesus broke the bread and poured the wine, he said, "This is my body. This is my blood. Drink it and eat it, and you will have life." It was a drastic way to awaken his disciples from forgetfulness. The miracle happens not because he said, or because we say the words correctly, but because we eat and drink in mindfulness.
Thank you, Michelle. Yeah. Yeah, that man was a light. He was a light. In a moment, you'll come and receive the good gift of the Eucharist. This meal symbolizes an open table and the humanity of God in each person that comes. We call this the body of Christ. May this table open you in vulnerability to feel more loved. You're worth it. And may it give you the courage to be more loving. Your neighbor is worth it. This table is set for us. It's open to us and to all people, and no one will ever be turned away. When you're ready, feel free to come and receive a piece of bread, dip it in the cup, and share this meal in these words: bread for the journey, nourishment for the soul. Come when you're ready. 'Cause I've been hearing stories about the end of the world, but I'm in love with a girl and I don't want to leave her. Oh, and the television screams about such hideous things. They're talking about the war on the radio. They say the whole thing's gonna blow, and we'll all be left alone. Yeah, we'll be dead, but we won't know what hit us. Jesus, Jesus, if you're up there, won't you hear me? I've been wondering if you're listening for quite a while. Jesus, Jesus, it's such a pretty place we live in, and I know we fucked it up, so please be kind. Don't let us go out like the dinosaurs, blown to bits in a third world war. There's a million things I'd still like to do. I like to climb to the top of the Eiffel Tower, look up from the ground in a meteor shower. I want to raise this family. Jesus, Jesus, there are those that say they love you, but they've treated me so goddamn mean. And I know you said forgive them, for they know not what they do. But sometimes I think they do, and I think about you. If all the heathens burn in hell, do all their children burn as well? What about the Muslims and the gays and the unwed mothers? And what about me and all my friends? Are we all sinners if we sin? Does it even matter in the end if we're unhappy? Jesus, Jesus, I'm still looking for answers, though I know that I won't find them here tonight. Jesus, Jesus, can you call me if you have the time? Maybe we can grab a coffee and work it out. Then I'll understand what it's all about.
Online this evening, and thank you again for making financial support a part of your practice by visiting collectivegives.com. Make your plan to stay connected with us by visiting wearecollectivechurch.com, where you can update your preferences to customize your engagement. And if you're willing to share what you found and make it easier for others to find it also, give us a review on Facebook or Google, or share some of our Find a Place videos. For benediction this evening, the Seeker's Benediction from Seeker's Church in Washington, D.C. Go into the seething cauldron of the world. Listen for the questions and voices that you would rather not hear. Answer them with the energy of the Holy Spirit, the power of the one who gives us life, and the boundless love of Christ.
There it is. We're going to, yes, Bill. Okay, so a second benediction. Fair enough.
Please do not build a stupa for me. Please do not put my ashes in a vase. Lock me inside and limit who I am. I know this will be difficult for some of you. If you must build a stupa, though, please make sure you put a sign on it that says, I am not in here. In addition, you can also put another sign that says, I'm not out there either. And a third sign that says, if I am anywhere, it is in your mindful breathing.
Grace to you and peace. Have a great night. Have a great week. We don't need to clear the room tonight. Deuces. Thanks to Annabelle for co-hosting. Thanks to Kenny for co-hosting.